go to Beirut to speak to Elias Hanna, military analyst, retired general in the Lebanese army. General, as always, we appreciate your time. Just think back to when you and I were speaking a couple of months ago. How much more nervous and tense are you about the situation on your country's border with Israel?
Adnan, I think that's in the tit for tat and, the controlled and constrained that really govern what's going on in Lebanon, between Lebanon and Hezbollah and Israel. I think that some new formulas are really coming up. It's not anymore, the previous formula. The tempo of war, the tempo of tit for tat, the kind of weapons that are used, the new tactics used by Hezbollah is really creating a new formula. What are these new formula, Adnan? Highly important. Two things that Israel, during its history, also always wanted to create a buffer zone, not in the internal territory of Israel, but rather it's outside. It's whether in Lebanon and Sinai and then Golan. This is the first time that we are seeing that no-go territory in Israel between the highway 98, 89 that goes parallel to the blue line, as well as the 90. It's no-go area for the Israelis. It's like a buffer zone inside Israel. Moreover, the second formula that we are seeing, that Israel has it doesn't have anymore the what we call the aerial dominance, air superiority, air dominance. Why? Because Hezbollah is really violating the space of Israel by its drone and really downing the most important, the most valuable drone inside Lebanon, the Hermes 450, the Hermes 900. And we know that what doesn't mean for Israel, the air superiority. In 1982, 9th of June 1982, Israel fought a war. The biggest aerial dogfight in the history after the World War II in the Bekaa Valley against the Syrian Air Force, in order to really implement the air superiority. All of that is really changing, which means that Israel has to change its modus operandi vis-a-vis Hezbollah. And what would be this change in the modus operandi? What would be the scenarios in the future?
I want to ask you about the politics, Elias, in a moment, but because you're focusing on the military tactics, explain to us, if you don't mind, what the thrust of those tactics are now in terms of the balance between what's coming from the air, what's coming from artillery, and what ground forces are doing. And in terms of what's happening in those tactics now, what is the danger of how they might change?
Adnan, Israel cannot really, in their mind, in their security mind, accept what's going on. Okay, so they have to change the situation. They have to change the balance of power. So now they are fighting, as we call, positional warfare, from a state of positional warfare. And they can go, according to their doctrine, to what we call maneuver warfare, which means the attack. They can shift because the Israeli army is built around the maneuver, not the defense. Okay, but can they do it like a full-fledged land warfare into Lebanon? I don't think so. They can go into three possible scenarios. First, the status quo that is going now, they cannot be acceptable by the Israelis. And the second one is going from positional to maneuver warfare in the attack. It needs a lot of things to be prepared prior to this attack, as well as they have to go against the constraints put by, whether by Iran or by the United States of America. So maybe the third scenario would be acceptable, which means that going a la 1996, the Grape of Wrath, it's like aerial bombardment of the area between the Blue Line and the Litani River, which goes like 30 kilometers deep into the Lebanese border, and really like full-fledged aerial campaign against civilian and Hezbollah, and in order to implement the formula, escalate, to de-escalate and oblige Hezbollah to go into some agreed upon rules of engagement and maybe hiring the cost of on Hezbollah. So this is the possible only scenario that I see in the future.
Just in terms of the political implications of the conflict escalating, if Israel were to engage Hezbollah or the other way around in a full-scale conflict between the group itself but not the state of Lebanon, if Hezbollah was engaged in a full-scale conflict with the state of Israel, what would the political reaction in Beirut be? That there would be no option but for the Lebanese army to join that fight?
Adnan, this is like a weird situation in Lebanon. You have non-functional, you don't have a president, first. Second, you have like paralyzed governments. Moreover, the United States of America is trying to protect the Lebanese army, and we remember that when Israel targeted some Lebanese army post and killed some soldiers and injured some. So it was like punished by the United States of America and reprimanded by the United States of America. Don't touch this army. Why? Because the army is, the hope of the America. In the post-event or post-war situation, you still need the army. But would Hezbollah or would Israel go into a full-fledged war against, aerial campaign against all of Lebanon? This is the main question, and this is like the $1 million question. So that's why I said maybe the third scenario, as I earlier mentioned, that would be between the blue line and Litani River border. It's like dominated by Hezbollah, where you have the UNIFIL and we have the army. I don't think the army will participate in anything, but it is like punishment for Hezbollah to really displace the people in this area, as it happened on the Israeli side, and as well as target, lots, as much as possible of Hezbollah, targets, and then put on Hezbollah a high price in order to make Hezbollah make some accommodation for the Israeli side, that you let your people come to this area, I let my people come to this area, because the cost for the Israeli government is becoming so high.
So many threads to a complicated issue. Elias, Hanna, thank you for talking us through it. As always, take care.